Bonjour et bienvenue à le podcast LEL Formule 1. Je m'appelle Adam Dickinson et je suis ici avec Frédéric Vest et Nigel Chu. Comment allez-vous?
Oui.
Comment tu t'appelles? Is that French?
What am I called? I've already said that.
Je m'appelle Frédéric Vest.
Yeah. Je m'appelle Nigel, I think. Is that right? I just
Yeah,
read
that's how
French,
you were.
so-
Not, I've already said who you
Oh,
are.
how am I?
Tu penses?
Bien, bien.
Très bien.
Muy bien. Is that
No,
Spanish?
no.
No.
Oui,
Not
Española.
Barcelona now, Nigel.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh dear. Well, that was a fun start. Yes, it is the Winging It F1 podcast for non-French speakers, and I'm joined by Freddie Coates and Nigel Chu. We're going to be previewing the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard. So we'll be talking a bit about that, a bit about predictions for the race, and a bit of F1 news. We're doing pretty quiet over the last couple of weeks, and we'll do a quiz at the end of the podcast.
Yes.
So, what comes to mind for both of you, or Freddie first, when you think of the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard?
Hi everyone. I'm going to start on a positive note because everything about this podcast is going to be like, well, Paul Ricard's pretty naff, which it is. So there's the negative note to start with the positive note, and the positive note is that like it feels like a proper place for Formula One to have a French Grand Prix. It felt weird not having a French Grand Prix for 10 years. Like Grand Prix is literally French for big prize, and you can't have the French big prize not in France. Yeah, might not be. But I feel like it is, and it's like it feels like it's Swiss. It's where it's from. It's all of that kind of stuff, and it's nice to have Formula One in France. It's just a shame it's at Paul Ricard.
I mean, that's a great question you started off with there, Adam. Because I don't really know what comes to mind. I think of Le Mans.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Nothing.
Yeah, Le Mans.
When I say Paul Ricard, French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard, Nigel, and you think, oh, Le Mans.
Yeah,
Le Mans is great.
Paul Ricard is just not a great track. It doesn't really get me hyped, I'd say, for F1, unfortunately. So yeah, I think of other French things, I guess.
Frogs' legs, snails.
I didn't say that. You said that.
Eiffel Towers. I'm not being xenophobic.
Only one Eiffel Tower. If you're doing Eiffel Towers, then one of them's in Las Vegas, and that's not very French. That's more Spanish. So yeah, that's interesting because I think for a lot of F1 fans, there is kind of a passionate hate of Paul Ricard. Like it feels like it's the one, along with kind of Abu Dhabi and Sochi, that it's the one that's most passionately disliked by the F1 fan base. But why, Nigel? Why is it so disliked, or why doesn't it always produce the best racing?
Well, the runoff, which is just bizarre with red, black, and blue stripes, which they say hurts the tyres if you go on it, is just not exactly aesthetically pleasing. And runoff area in itself, rather than grass and gravel, it's not great. The racing, it doesn't work because of the long radius turns, so the cars are turning for a long time, which is very hard to follow compared to a short radius turn where you're not following the car in the corner for as long. So just that, it's very flat and smooth as well as you like a bit of elevation change, Adam, if you was making a dream circuit. So I think yeah, the turns, especially the final 3 or 4 corners in the final sector, which are just pretty horrible. They don't allow great racing. It's really not good for the cars to follow. So I think that's the main reason, I'd say.
Yeah, like I saw someone had done some Photoshop where they just made the whole runoff area as if it was tarmac, as if it is, say, it's like in Abu Dhabi or something like that. But they've got stripes there and they make it work, but they don't here for some reason. And it honestly, just you can't see any land. It's just all just runoff, and it's a shame because it used to be a fantastic racetrack. People always cite 1979 Villeneuve versus Arnoux for second place French Grand Prix. That was Dijon, actually. No, ignore me. That was a good bit of racing, but it wasn't at Le Castellet.
That was a good track.
The 19 is it which was the one Leighton House nearly won with, that 1989 French Grand Prix? That is cited by many as like their favourite Grand Prix growing up and stuff like that. No. It wasn't Magny-Cours then, but that's spoken by many as one of their favourite French Grand Prix growing up, like, or just favourite Grand Prix ever. And like, it used to be really good there. It's just not now. It's just become a testing venue for WEC, but for some reason, Formula One races there.
And what doesn't help as well is we've just come off the back of two proper drivers' street circuits, Baku and Monaco, and France is probably not really. Well, of course, every circuit's a driver's circuit, but if you make a mistake,
not if it's motorbiking.
Well, yeah, if you make a mistake, then you can just cut the corner or run out wide, and you won't get punished. So then the risk versus reward isn't the same compared to Monaco or Baku. So I think that's another thing which makes it a bit dull sometimes.
We've had two races there in sort of our time of Formula One, that kind of thing, 2018, 2019, and I can't think of anywhere else where sort of like
in Nigel's time.
Yeah. There's 100% record for people afterwards saying there's something wrong with Formula One after the race, and having 2 weeks of just before the next Grand Prix, or a week in this case before Austria, where it would just be people. You can see it already, people saying, what's wrong with Formula One? Why can't we do this? We need to change, that kind of thing. Because that's just what's going to come out of this, because it's just not going to be interesting. It's like, well, why isn't it interesting? And it's like, oh, a mixture of the track, a mixture of the cars, but it's a perfect storm of despair.
Well, I mean, that could change this week. I mean, we thought... So I'm just laughing at Adam's laughing.
I'm just laughing at Freddie.
See, this is what I mean when I try to start on a positive note, because it's not going to be positive.
No, I'm going to try and make it positive, because we talked before Spain has strategy, the closest of Red Bull and Mercedes, and for all the exciting racing. That's kind of what happened with Hamilton overtaking Verstappen with 6 or 7 laps to go. I'm not saying we could get the same this weekend in France, but I think it will probably be more exciting than the previous 2 French Grand Prix, simply because of the nature of the championship and the season that we've had so far. So I think, it should be better, and it might not be as bad as we think, perhaps.
I think it couldn't be less exciting unless someone crashes on the first lap and then the safety car for the rest of the race. But
crash where? Crash where?
Yeah.
In a neighbouring town? What?
But I think that's kind of part of the problem. It's like, there are circuits in F1 that kind of aren't great for racing, but they've all got like some redeeming features. Whether it's like Abu Dhabi's got like a cool hotel, and like Zandvoort might not be very good, but I think it's quite a cool track and seems like a bit of a driver's track, and got the elevation, got the banking. And like China's got massive straights where even if like there's not amazing racing, you can still have like good races and good overtaking.
Right.
Russia's got an Olympic
park.
park.
Racing, I think.
And then you've just got this, which is, it's just like, it's flat, it's lifeless. Like you say, there's so much runoff. There's not like an amazing backdrop to it. I think you can see the Alps in the distance, but it's like, it's too far. It doesn't really redeem it. There's not like
on a clear day.
Yeah, there's like not a massive atmosphere. There's an airport next to it. It's just all, it's like there's bad racing and nothing else. You can't focus on anything else, or you can't, it's Monaco, or it's just bad racing. So
there's nowhere else to go in France, because you could go to Magny-Cours, but that was equally as boring. I think some people like to forget that Le Mans you can't.
This debate before.
We can't. Le Mans you can't go down the full Mulsanne straight, unfortunately, and there's no other French circuit, so it's either this or no French Grand Prix. Now I know which one I'd rather have, but I think for Formula One, as Freddie kind of alluded to, we do kind of need a French Grand Prix.
Well, I think the best option for a French Grand Prix, then, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on this, would be like a street track. We've got Monaco Grand Prix, which it's Principality, south of France, that kind of thing, arguably, but it's its own thing. But would you think there'd be sort of scope for like the Champs-Elysees in Paris, the scene of, and you guys will love this, Tour de France history and all of that. If you put that if you have that with like a Formula One racetrack, basically is like the start finish straight down there, do you think that's kind of feasible?
I think the problem is it doesn't kind of fit the mold of street, like places where we've seen street circuits popping up, in that it's not like
A rich country in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, rich new world powerhouse, or a la Jeddah, or it's not even America, kind of want a new market wanting to put itself into F1, and that's kind of where the money seems to come from. Or Azerbaijan's another example. That's not really, it just doesn't seem to fit the mold of that. So I agree. I think it'd be fantastic to have a French street circuit, and it'd be a hell of a lot better than Paul Ricard. But I just think it doesn't. I think my worry would be the kind of financial aspect, and whether there's actually an appetite there to go down that route when we've got lots of tracks, albeit not very interesting ones for racing. We think you've got a list of tracks that you could have it at in France anyway.
I mean, if there's any sort of, I don't know if I'm being overly optimistic, but if there's any sort of Western country and like a European country that would normally have a Grand Prix that would have government backing, it's the French Grand Prix, because I think it does have government backing. And Renault is a partly state-owned company, and they've obviously got Alpine. They've got a lot of funding gets put in by the French state into motorsport. So I feel like if there's any country that would potentially do that kind of thing, it would be France. But yeah, it's obviously not on the cards, and this is just hypothesis from us. But
I think the only one that I can think of in the last, since I've been watching, that would feel similar to that is Valencia.
Yeah,
right. Kind of Western European country coming in. But yeah, and we're not, street circuits still aren't perfect by any stretch. There's that as well, that we're saying, it'd be great to have a street circuit, but it has to be a good street circuit, and there's no guarantee that it would be any better than Paul Ricard. So it's a bit of a,
there's a ton of space by the Louvre. Just do it there. Just do it around that big sort of glass pyramid thing in the middle of the Louvre. Just turn around in circles around there. It would still be better. That's the thing. It would still be better than
donuts the whole way.
Drive up the Eiffel Tower, up the side of it, and down the other side.
I mean, the team that wins,
whoever wins.
You can use the lift. You can just go in the lift and go up, but then they can only do that one at a time. So it'll be great strategy is who's the advantage and stuff.
You use DAS, and new system of DAS. You pull out the steering wheel, and then it's got rocket thrusters in the bottom, fire out.
Oh yeah, and the wheels turn, so they're facing down.
That's why DAS is banned.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good.
It goes back to the blown exhaust days where they actually would fire shit out the bottom of the cars, and they just do that, and it goes up instead of down into the downforce. It's the other way around. They've got wings.
Carry a jump jet in F1. Nigel, if you guys,
let's do a race on an aircraft carrier.
Not really. No, I think. Yeah, I think like you guys say, it depends on what they kind of do if they do have a street track, but yeah, I don't really see it happening anytime soon, unfortunately.
Go to Po.
Yeah, Pau. Yeah, that's a brilliant
home of the first ever Grand Prix race.
They only have Formula 3 cars racing there now because it's so tight and fiddly.
Top Gear tried to go there on the perfect road trip and got caught speeding and couldn't. So, moot ground to make up there, which is not relevant at all to this, to be honest. I don't know why I said.
There's a rallycross track called Le Hague or something? Couldn't they go there?
Oh yeah, Loiac. Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah. Even that track is probably one of the worst on the rallycross calendar. So France just has rubbish tracks.
Why not just do a karting race? Why not just for one weekend of the year just say, right, France is so rubbish that we're just going to do a karting race here instead, and then just do that, and then that'll be good.
They do a karting race around Paul Ricard.
Well, they've got 147 different configurations, haven't they? So they could use different...
do a different configuration each lap.
Yeah.
I saw a Chain Bear video talking about Monaco, and he was saying there should be a Joker lap, and he did one that was
just before a biathlon.
Just before you go into the tunnel section, you kind of do a bit of a longer loop, and then he was like, oh, you can do the Mega Joker lap, and it's it goes off the other side of Monaco after Casino Square. Adds so long to the lap.
They even put forward ideas about extending the Monaco track a couple of years ago, and everyone said, "Why the hell would you do that?" And then they quietly forgot that they had published those plans, proposals, not plans.
No, no.
Was it us? No.
No.
It was you.
We.
It wasn't me.
Was it you that lost the plans? I don't know.
It's like
Nigel's gone into a trance trying to
learn French.
I just remembered
to reply.
Did they change the pit lane for the 2019 race, or did they change it for this year to like make it before
they changed it for 2019? Yeah, they made it that straight line to it, which is
massive.
Which wasn't the issue, because the issue is the exit. Really. But I guess because like they had a pit lane garage, and because it was wet in qualifying in 2018, you'd have a car come into the pits and sort of have a potential just to skid straight into the Mercedes garage, which is, fair enough that that's uncomfortable. And that was around a similar point of time when they made the decision, was when that basically happened in DTM. So at the Hungaroring.
Wait, so which is it? Is it the one that like breaks off before the last two corners and goes in, or is it off the straight now?
It breaks off the last corner. So it's just like, essentially you just can kind of straight line the penultimate corner into the pits.
Yeah.
But you still come out onto the racing line, and that's the thing. Like realistically, it should be a bit more like a long lap kind of thing for MotoGP on the entrance, really, to be honest.
Yeah, and I guess from a strategical point of view, it shortens the pit lane time loss. Then you could do a two-stop. Well, you're probably not going to, but it makes it a bit more likely. They probably still won't. There'll be a bit more of a chance if there's a well-timed safety car or whatever.
That's interesting, actually, because it means you won't lose 25 seconds, you lose 20 seconds, that kind of thing.
Yeah. A bit like Canada.
Yeah.
Or no, I can't think of it.
Stillson's pretty good for that, isn't it? Yeah. Because they have that straight in, but that's why it's a bit slower, because otherwise, the pit lane speeds in Silverstone it's fine to be like, the pit lane's safe enough for it to be like a 50-mile-an-hour limit, but they have it at 37 or something, because otherwise you'd set the fastest lap going in the pit. So they have to have it slightly slower so that people don't set the fastest lap.
Yeah, because imagine Q3 or in qualifying just bomb the pit lane.
I think they could do that.
It'd be hilarious.
It'd be awful for safety.
It'd be an absolute farce. It'd be stupid.
Yeah.
It's like when Schumacher pitted on the final lap to serve a penalty or something, and they let it stand. And it's like, it's proper cunning, annoying Formula One. But like, if like these 2022 cars are slower, then if they're slower than going around the final two corners, the Vale club chicanes around that, if they're slower doing that, that it is just to go through the pits on a speed limit. So then maybe.
What if it's wet as well? Will that make it? Yeah.
If it's wet as well, I guess it just take longer to slow down it on entry to the pits anyway.
Yeah, true.
But who knows? Let's try it out at the British Grand Prix. Let's get some F1 strategists on the pod. We can put it forward to them.
Yeah, if you're an F1 strategist listening to this and you want to come on the podcast, please tweet us at
divulge your strategy.
Yes.
Give us a strategy, please. We need a strategy. What tires is Nigel on now?
Hard.
Mediums.
Doesn't even know.
C4s.
It's like the Sakir Grand Prix all over again.
Freddie's on pink wall tyres. He's bringing back the hyper softs.
Yeah.
See? But yeah, moving on from the crazy conversation about Paul Ricard, which I really enjoyed. I think it was a great chat about how to improve the French Grand Prix.
It's better than the French Grand Prix is going to be.
In every way that wouldn't actually improve the French Grand Prix or actually get put through. It's brilliant. But we do have to race here this week. Well, we don't. I wish we did. But F1 does have to race here this weekend. And it's, again, expected to be a battle between Mercedes and Red Bull. So who do you both think is going to be on top here? Is it Merc track?
It should be. I mean, if it isn't, then I think Red Bull have to become favourites, because everything points towards this being a Mercedes track. The long corners, which you talked about earlier, the way this is more aerodynamic mechanically sensitive, a bit like Spain, whereas Baku and Monaco, it's more about mechanical grip. And I think Mercedes, one of its biggest strengths this year, or for the last 7 years, is the aerodynamics, whereas Red Bull is more like Ferrari, the stronger with the mechanical grip. So everything, like I said, points towards a Mercedes win. Probably not dominance, but if they don't win, kind of like Monaco with Red Bull, if they don't win this weekend, then I think there will be a lot of head scratching, especially for Hamilton. He's 4 points behind in the championship. Yes, it's been a mad season, especially in Baku, but I think they have to win on genuine pace because there's not many other tracks apart from Silverstone, perhaps, or even Red Bull was strong there last year. But yeah, looking at the rest of the races, I don't think there's many more tracks that suit Mercedes more than Paul Ricard.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot about the track surface here because like you say, we've got for best case scenario for Mercedes in terms of aerodynamics. But I kind of look at it and think, what have been the issues for Mercedes in the past 2 races? And they've been tyre warm up on the kind of weird track surfaces. And I kind of feel there's still a kind of lack of grip for that at Paul Ricard.
Yeah.
And there could well be a similarity in that regard, but maybe, the gap's not like, I think I could put Red Bull on top because they can just cope with that a bit better in the way that they have done in Monaco and Baku and in the race in Imola, that kind of thing with tyre warm up. So I think that just kind of sort of has swings and roundabouts in that Merkel will be good in the actual sort of aerodynamic perspective, but Red Bull and Ferrari by extension, like you say, Nigel, will have that tyre performance that will give them that more malleable edge, if that makes sense. They can be a bit more creative because they're not so limited on their tyres in a way that Mercedes will be, I think. But I mean, I made some predictions to Baku and they all went to pot. So don't listen to me.
What I'd say to that is that they've been using the C5 tyre for qualifying and for stints in the race in Monaco and Azerbaijan. We've got C2, C3 and C4 tyres, which is what they used in Bahrain. So I think that will help Mercedes a bit more. And I think the longer corners as well. I think Mercedes' problems, or one of the problems they've had in the last couple of races, is generating the front tyre temperature or getting it into the right window. And the longer corners will help that. It'll make it a bit easier. So, yeah, I think
Hamilton had no problem generating front tyre temperature on the last lap of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But anyway, not even the last lap either. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think many people's predictions stayed in the window for the for Baku, to be fair.
Yeah,
unless you are a psychic. Do you think anyone else will be in the fight? Because obviously we've had Leclerc on pole over the last 2 races and we've had different podiums to what we would have expected. I don't see that. I think Monaco's Monaco, and Azerbaijan, Leclerc said he thought his lap was rubbish and he couldn't believe he got pole. And then, the podiums have kind of, again, been Monaco and Baku shaped or moulded by that. But do either of you see kind of a continuation of the anomalous results?
Like you say, shaped by Monaco and Baku. It's like the tracks have got their own I don't know what you're gesturing at, but
corners.
Yeah, they've got their own foibles, their own go away.
Stripes.
They've got their own intricacies and idiosyncrasies. That's what I'm trying to say. You kept doing this, and I was like, "What are you saying?" I thought I was on mute, and no one could hear me. And I was like, "Oh God, I'm on mute," and I wasn't. And you were just making gestures, and then I stopped speaking.
Actually been mute,
and then I completely got thrown off. Oh yeah, I've not spoken for anything. You didn't hear when I said I thought I was on mute, which was the interesting bit, but you did.
What was that?
There we go.
Going to be a lot of subtitles to go into this.
Subtitles really work for audio formats. It's brilliant. It's basically a book.
Well, it could be audio described, and then Freddie moves from side to side. Yeah, now he's leaning forward and laughing. Right, let's listen to what Freddie has to say.
So, what do I have today? What I have today to say is that, like you were saying about Monaco and Baku having such unique track layouts. So Baku's obviously got the long straight. Monaco's got like you can't really. There's not really any high speed at all in Monaco based on the way the track works and how quick the corners come at you. So like we don't have that in Paul Ricard. We don't have those sort of unique challenges of that track. And like Nigel says, it's normal. So it kind of would work for Mercedes in that regard there, and it then would work for Red Bull as well, and kind of would work for everyone on the highest plane they can get, which means that these teams won't have an opportunity to sort of jump up the order in a way because everyone else will be operating at such a high operation.
Yeah, it should be more like Spain and Portugal, I think. And I guess one of the good things is... Hey?
Bottas on pole. Or not that much like Spain and Portugal.
Well, I've lost my track of thought now.
I think if Bottas was on pole, that would be fantastic because he would have faster cars behind him.
Nigel, have you remembered?
Yeah, what I was going to say was, for a good month now, we haven't had a climax to Q3. And with France being France, or the Paul Ricard being Paul Ricard, we should get a second run in Q3 because there shouldn't be any red flags. So that's a good thing, I guess.
I just jinxed Q3.
Yeah.
Someone's going to find somewhere to crash.
I feel like Monaco had quite a climactual end, but kind of just not in the way we'd expect. Yeah. But no, I do know what you're saying, and yeah, I think that'll factor in. But I don't know if Sainz is on pole with people going out on their last runs, then look out for one of the Ferraris hitting the wall. Yeah. That's all I'll say.
If we get Verstappen, Hamilton front row, I think the race should be quite good for France standards. I think it could be quite a strategical race. Well,
it's like we've had for the first few races was always sort of Verstappen would get out in front, and then it'd be how can Lewis fight back. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's something similar to that. And it seems to just be that's the season, really. And that, particularly before Monaco, it was Lewis Max, wasn't it? And that's I kind of wanted to go back to that because that's what we were absolutely loving for the start of the season. And then it's kind of like we've had some weird moments, obviously, in the street track zone. But then it's something like, I think Verstappen is the only driver to have led over 100 laps this year. I want to say. I think he's led like 250 or something. I think Hamilton's something like 85 or 90, which is mad when you think that Hamilton's won 3 races. And it's just that kind of, like, on familiar hunting grounds, you can't discount Mercedes at all.
We've got a good rugby stat that relates to that, but no one will get it, so I'll leave it. Yeah, I think, and I think it will be most interesting if we get, say, Verstappen out front and then Bottas and Hamilton kind of close behind. I think that'll add even more to it, and then kind of Perez out the picture, or vice versa. That you've kind of got a leading driver, and then kind of the team behind is able to throw a few different strategies in. I think I'll be interested to see that, and I think that race would suit Paul Ricard better than just kind of Hamilton following Verstappen for most of the race but not able to get past or whatever, or something like that.
If Hamilton's leading after the first few corners, it could be quite dull, I'd say. So, yeah.
Because he's so good.
Yeah.
He'll know what to do.
And I think it does suit Mercedes, the track, a little bit more than Red Bull, and it's Hamilton. So, yeah.
That being said, if they're on the front row together, then I would back Verstappen to be leading into the first corner, personally. Sorry, Freddie.
It's all right. I'm just saying something purely semantics, but I think it'd be nice if Hamilton could win one race in this triple header so that he's got the opportunity to take his 100th win at the British Grand Prix. I think that'd be very cool. But that's just me sort of thinking that would be cool. And if they could sort out, I mean, we don't know what's going on with the UK in terms of lockdown. This will be going out around a similar time to when Boris Johnson does his announcement tonight. But we think it's going to be likely that the day after the British Grand Prix is when you can have sort of full attendance, these kind of things. It's a nightmare for everyone really who was planning to go to the British Grand Prix, because that would be fantastic to be able to sort of have a nice reopening to society with Formula One. But looks like that's not going to be the case, at least for the UK. But if there are still some fans there, it would be cool for Lewis Hamilton, Sir Lewis Hamilton, the year he got his knighthood, the year he's got an opportunity to become an 8-time world champion, the greatest Formula One driver statistically of all time. It'd be great to be the only Formula One driver to take 100 wins at his home Grand Prix. I think it'd be fantastic. and it'll be one of
When
those
is-
sporting moments that could well go down in history.
When is the British Grand Prix?
It is the
18th.
18th of July, so
Well,
it's
so
pretty
the
much a
Euros
month
are on.
away.
Okay. Oh, I thought that
yeah.
it might clash with the Euros, and that'd be even more interesting. But
Oh,
Not to be.
I remember being at the British Grand Prix when I was 6, watching England beat someone. I can't remember who they were playing, but it was like one of the first England games I ever watched. And I was at the British Grand Prix, and everyone was watching it on a big screen after the qualifying session.
If you were
That was
6, it would have been the 90 Italian 90 World Cup. Something
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
Italian 90. Yeah, you're right. We also watched the 1985 Blackpool final there. The snooker. Anyway, moving swiftly back onto topic.
Oh, I don't know what the topic is here. It's just
It's just generic French Grand Prix chat, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it's just random F1 chat. Should we do predictions now or later?
Let's do some predictions now.
Okay. Predict.
I predict that Adam's going to ask us who's going to win the race.
I don't
who do you-
predict that Adam's going to ask us who's going to win the race.
Oh, what are the odds?
Well, Nigel said he doesn't.
Power.
Is Nigel just not making a prediction at all, or is he predicting that I won't ask? Because
I'm
he worded
predicting
it
that
like
you
the
won't
former.
ask.
You didn't word it correctly though in the book. He would absolutely fleece you for that. Yeah, who do you think is going to be third?
Ooh. Bottas.
And
Perez, I think.
interesting.
Who do you think, Adam?
I think Verstappen.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, go on then. Why not?
I think
Um,
Verstappen, unless he has a problem, will finish in the top 2 for like nearly every race this year, I reckon.
Yeah, but I think this might be one of the ones that he doesn't. So
I think there's more chance that Hamilton doesn't finish in the top 2 than Verstappen, I think.
that's probably. I don't think at this race.
For a year.
I think like
It's so generic as a race, isn't it?
at other races I'd say yeah, but I think it'll be a Mercedes 1-2 here.
Nice.
And who do you think is going to be on pole position?
Ooh.
I think Hamilton
Leclerc?
has to be.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Hamilton. I don't think it's going to be Leclerc, but I think he will do one of his storming laps and maybe 5th or 6th or 4th or something.
It'd be a massive shock if it's not. Even if it's not Verstappen or Hamilton, I think it would be a surprise because if Perez or Bottas pulled one out of the bag, I'll be quite surprised by that.
Oh, I think it could be Verstappen actually, not Hamilton, just because looking at qualifying form this year, best sector times and stuff like that would have pretty much always put Verstappen on pole. So I just think there's a little bit more in the locker for Verstappen, I think. So I think Verstappen. I've changed it. Verstappen for pole.
Do you think the Saturday is going to be more interesting than the Sunday?
I hope so, because I'm going to dinner on the Sunday. So I'm missing the race live, but I can watch the qualifying.
I think the race could be quite interesting. I think. Yeah.
I guess if the qualifying's interesting, that makes it probably more likely that the race will be as well.
Yeah,
Unless we
good
get
point,
one of the top 2 going out in Q1 or something.
I think we could get a qualifying similar to Imola. Didn't mean to say similar Imola. That's Adam's phrase. It's a great phrase. But like that was a fantastic qualifying session, right to the death, with the closest grid into like 9-8 years or something, and it was brilliant to watch. And I feel like with just like you say, without the damp squibs of red flags at the end of the sessions, we for the lap times at least, we could have the actual kind of bit of balls to the wall around Paul Ricard. It could pulls to the wall, be fantastic. Maybe if you like what we saw with Norris just hooking it up out of nowhere and doing a great lap. And we had that at Baku with Gasly just out of nowhere doing a great lap in the bits where you drive the car. So there's opportunities in qualifying for midfield cars to actually cause a bit of a mix-up. So in qualifying, at least in the race pace, not so much so, but in qualifying, I think we could maybe see something like that.
I don't really want to kind of engage with that after the pull to the wall joke, but yeah,
it wasn't a joke. It was like, deadly serious as a phrase. It's going to be the new phrase.
Even worse, even if the car does have a good qualifying, I think you can't. I think there's just such long straights that I think kind of any kind of mix up in qualifying will be rectified pretty quickly in the race because it's just
It'll take a
can-
collision for a non Mercedes or Red Bull to get on the podium this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's correct prognosis. Let's talk about another driver who may not be on the podium this weekend, but does need a big weekend or a big 3 weekends. It's Daniel Ricciardo. He's not had a great time of it since joining McLaren, and kind of that's really come to a head at Monaco and Baku. But do we think this is an opportunity for him to kind of turn a bit of that form around?
I think it's a good run of tracks, really. Like, it's not like he gets up to speed and then goes away for a couple of weeks, gets up to speed, goes away for a couple of weeks. Like, we've got Paul Ricard, which, to be fair, is a testing track, so it's kind of designed for you to be hammering it around. And it's a good track then to be kind of getting to grips with the car. And then 2 Austrian Grand Prix, same track, and again, it's easier to get to grips with it. We saw in Bahrain that his pace was pretty good because he got to grips with the track and the car at that venue. So maybe he'll have a bit more opportunity just to sort of dial in better and hopefully pull himself out of this sort of not being as fast as Lando Norris quagmire he's in. Like Perez said, judge me after 5 races. His 6th race he won. We're not in that position with Daniel Ricciardo, just in terms of performance.
I think Ricciardo's in a bit of trouble, but if he's still not performing in 3 weeks' time after the second Austrian race, then I'd say it becomes dangerous for his place at McLaren, for his reputation, for his career almost. So it's a massive, massive opportunity the next 3 weeks. It's like Freddie's pointed out with France this weekend. It's an easier track. You can make a mistake or something and recover from it. Austria, there's only 7 real corners, short track. So yeah, if
McLaren track,
it is. Yeah, that's another great point. Yeah. So yeah, if you can't turn it around over the next month or so, then I don't see how he can. At least this year. So yeah, it's a massively important few weeks for Daniel Ricciardo.
Do you think his position would be under threat in this season for Daniel Ricciardo, or do you think he get to see the season out even if he's kind of on the back foot after this run of 3?
I think he'll get the season.
Yeah, I think he'll get the season out because, I mean, McLaren have paid a lot for Ricciardo, and they clearly believe in his qualities, and I think we all do. We all know it's there, so I think they'll give him every single chance because it'd be very unlike McLaren to drop in mid-season or after X number of races. So yeah, it would. He doesn't have to do much to keep his seat for next year. He just has to show it at a few races. So because of what he's done over the last 7-8 years, he's built up a reputation and a career that's like put him on a high platform, I guess. So he gets some leeway from us and McLaren, I think. So yeah, he just has to show it at a couple races. But if he wants to have a good season and a great season, then now is the time to turn it around.
He's proved the level he can operate at, hasn't he? And particularly last year, actually, with Renault, I think was one of his best seasons because the way he basically put that team into contention, took about 75% of the team's points and put that team into contention for 3rd in the constructors against a very strong McLaren, a very strong Racing Point, does show his caliber.
I think I would just kind of push back a bit in that I agree. I think it'd be unlike McLaren to get rid of him, and I don't really see what they gain from that. But I think they knew what they were getting when they brought him in. But he wasn't a project driver. He wasn't kind of like, Van Dorn that you thought it might take a while to get it to speed. It felt like the reason they brought him in was because he was a kind of proven operator in F1 who they thought could replace Carlos Sainz, and I think to lead the team, or certainly be a candidate to lead the team. So if you're going to kind of give someone a season to bed in, why not kind of bring up a young driver? I mean, probably because there weren't kind of any obvious candidates available, but I think there is a difference between kind of they wouldn't have expected him I don't think they would have expected him to need this time to bed in. And yeah, like you said, they're paying him a lot of money, and it would be, I imagine, extremely difficult to get out of that contract. But yeah, I just the last few months only counts for so much, especially in F1, which is one of the more cutthroat sports. So yeah, I'd be very surprised, but I think it's not. Yeah, it's a difficult one, but I'd be surprised if he just.
He's remaining quite positive, it seems, as well, even though he's not performing well. Whether that's just him being his own personality, but he's never really been in this position, at least in his F1 career, I don't think. So it's new territory for him, and at the moment he's not really adapting or reacting well to it. I think so. It's about, will he? I think it's changed from when will Ricardo become good to if Ricardo can become good. I think that's what's changed.
I think there's I think a second season is. I'm sort of coming around to that's kind of, now we sort of voiced this out. I'm sort of coming around to the fact that this McLaren car this year is weird. Norris has said that he can't drive it the way he wants to, but he's able to drive it fast, but not the way he wants to, and that's the impressive thing about Norris. Ricardo obviously can't drive it how he wants to. He wants to be fast, and the way he's wanting to drive it is, isn't that fast. And the way he's having to drive it is with sort of incessant coaching every corner from his performance engineer team, and it's incredibly difficult to sort of see that progressing so much in this car. But I can imagine they will take that feedback for next year in a different car era, to be fair. But they'll take that feedback and know how he wants to drive the car, and will respect that as the team. And I think if it never really comes great with this car, I think there's still opportunity for it to come great next year with a new car. Even if it was the same regulations, then you could still mold the car to him as it develops. And just because you're so limited on development this year, and we've got big regulation changes next year, I feel like that is a bit of a get out of jail free
it
for
could
Ricciardo
save
later
him.
on. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he'll race for McLaren in IndyCar in a few years.
I don't know that, really.
No, I don't know if they want to keep him as a McLaren contracted driver, but don't want a different driver in the Formula One seat if he's not performing. But that's how rumors start. So let's move on.
That is, yeah. Should we? Who would you think would be a candidate to replace him, say, at the end of the season? I think that's part of the problem. There's no.
Yeah, that's the
good
thing.
question.
Bottas, no one coming up.
Yeah, Bottas was the first one that came to my head.
Yeah,
but
he's a proven good driver who can operate at a high level, and he can have difficulties, but if you put your arm around him, you can extract a lot from him. And that he hasn't really had his arm, hasn't had a shoulder to lean on for the past few weeks at Mercedes, you'd say. But that's a whole different debate.
They don't have a young driver, McLaren, who's shining. They've got a couple in IndyCar, of course, but I don't see them bringing Pato Award or Rosen.
He's doing the Abu Dhabi test, isn't he? Pato
Award. Yeah.
Leading the IndyCar Championship now.
I think another name that came to mind for me would be Sergio Perez if he was out of contract at Red Bull, which who knows what Red Bull will ever do. But there are Liam Lawson's going well so far in the in F2, and there's obviously Tsunoda if he did come on and have a kind of breakout second half of the season. I think that
lots of spots.
I think there's a lot of ifs for that, which I don't really see it happening.
Ocon,
but he's kind of another one. Yeah, Ocon could shout.
Ocon's had links with McLaren in the past. When sort of Lawrence Stroll took over racing Force India to become Racing Point Force India for the latter half of the 2018 season, there were rumours then that Ocon was going to end up out of his seat with like 5 races to go in that season, and Stroll was going to be put into the Racing Point from the Williams, and then there was going to be someone like Kubica was going to be driving for the end of the year, and Ocon was going to be in McLaren. And there were rumours that very, very strong and basically near confirmed rumours that Ocon had a seat fit at McLaren then, and he was just a little bit too tall, which meant he didn't get the McLaren drive for 2019, and it went to Carlos Sainz. But Ocon has had conversations with McLaren. and I'd say he's on a good run of form this year. But I think Alpine won't want to let him go based on his recent performances. Doesn't get enough conversation as Ocon alone. I'd say I think he's had a really good 2021.
Yeah.
If McLaren did come calling, though, if you're Ocon, would you stay at Alpine at the end of this season or make the jump?
I don't know, actually. That's a good question because you've seen the struggles in making the jump, haven't you?
I think Alpine can shoot up the order next year. That's just something I've thought about for like about 6 months. I'm not sure why, but so I would stay only on the basis.
It's been really difficult when you were doing news days. Like, I need to interview this person about bees, but Alpine, they're going to shoot up the order.
I want to watch this race, but Alpine are going to shoot up the order. Oh my goodness!
That's why I messed up my radio bulletins.
Alpine.
I was too busy thinking about that every hour.
And Alpine, I mean Alan Part of
yeah.
Alan Part.
Shooting up the order. Oh wait, I meant they're shooting up cocaine. Oh damn it!
Right, Larry evening around Freddie's house. But there we go.
Nigel's reporting on it. He was the embedded undercover reporter for the Sun who's going to splash. F1 podcaster does way too many drugs. I don't
know. Sorry, Nigel, carry on.
That's all right. I think Alpine can have a big year next year. So based on that, I would stay. But
I feel like McLaren could too, though.
They could, but I think Alpine will be
they all could.
The big surprise.
Nah, that's fine. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, it'd be a really difficult choice. I think I'd probably stay just because of the fact that you've got a chance to kind of make it your team, and as Freddie I think said, that he's seen the kind of difficulty of making that jump and experience that firsthand. But I think that'll be an interesting one to see. I think we all expect that Daniel Ricciardo will stay at the team. Any other drivers you want to talk about?
I think Tsunoda can have a really good summer. You just mentioned him before. I think he did well at Baku. He crashed, but in terms of pace, he was back on it. He wasn't that far behind Pierre Gasly, his teammate. And I think with some more familiar tracks coming up, he's raced in F3 at Paul Ricard. He raced in F2 in Austria, 2 Austrian races again, and then he's raced at Silverstone as well. So I think Tsunoda, after a bad spell, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to really impress and people start talking about him in a good way again, rather than about his team radio.
Yeah, well, I think the team radio has actually kind of it was funny at first. It's a little bit awkward now. To be fair, for the most part, like in Baku when he's telling his engineer to shut up, it's a little bit it doesn't sit great so much now. It feels like, I mean, and they've got him under close supervision in Faenza, where he's now living. He goes to the gym twice a day, apparently, which he's annoyed about.
He's living with Franz Tost, basically.
Which I think would be incredible. Like, two very different personalities. Yeah. Franz Tost, like, just life with Franz Tost would be so interesting. Because it'd just be like, he gets up in the morning and, I don't know, plants some tomatoes. And that seems to be all I can imagine Franz Tost doing is gardening. It just doesn't strike me as like, the team principle of a Formula One team, like adrenaline, all that kind of thing. Like you got that, like Christian Horner thinks of himself as like a super cool guy. Toto Wolff is a super cool guy, and then Franz Tost is just like a gardener, and it's just sort of, it's like, oh, here's the caretaker, Franz. Hey, Franz. Hello. Carries on with the day.
Yeah, I just mentioned his teammate Pierre Gasly, obviously third last time out. Could be another one.
Love Gasly. Love Gasly.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to be the highest finishing French driver?
This weekend?
Yeah. No, next weekend.
In the Styrian Grand Prix, I think the highest finishing French driver.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
And who do we think is going to be the highest finishing Austrian driver this weekend?
The French drivers, we've got Gasly, Ocon,
Théo Pourchaire, if he gets a promotion. But like,
just Gasly and Ocon, the two French drivers this year?
Yeah, Grosjean's in IndyCar, isn't he?
Wow, I thought there were more for some reason. I think Ocon will.
Well, Leclerc doesn't really count, does he? Because he's Monegasque, which is a different place. But he's that kind of crop. But I think Gasly.
I think so too, but I'll go Ocon. Why not? Let's go.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, why not?
Go
Give
on,
Esteban
Ocon.
some love. It's like the first time this podcast has given Esteban some love. Episode 75 or whatever it is.
Okay. Either of you got anything else you want to mention before we move on to the quiz?
Obviously the rumor was going in overdrive about George Russell and Valtteri Bottas. There were some reports that George Russell could be announced at Silverstone as the 2022 Mercedes driver. Take it with a pinch of salt is what I'll say. Wait for an announcement first.
Tablespoon of salt.
Yeah, you're right. I don't really know at all. I don't think any of us know at all what's going to go on there, but I think we can all agree that the atmosphere in Mercedes is the tetchiest it's ever been, particularly towards Valtteri Bottas. It's a bit spiky.
Yeah, that's all. I think you summed it up.
Yeah, watch this space really over the summer, I'd say. He wants to talk about contracts soon. Who will?
Yeah. It'll be our silly season
a Williams
special,
deal.
but I don't know when that'll start. So yeah, but that'll be coming at some point. Hopefully after the triple header. So we've got time.
Yeah, why not? After triple header, because we don't have time. Oh goodness, I just whacked my desk. Everything fell off. Oh well.
Not the laptop though.
My laptop stayed in the perfect position just to watch me be stressed.
Well, speaking of which, we're on to the quiz. So,
fantastic segue.
How many circuits have hosted a French Grand Prix?
Oh, Freddie.
Yep.
7?
Oui.
Is it?
Wow.
Yeah.
What an answer that is. That is one of the best answers we've ever had.
I thought go too higher than you think. I thought 5, so I went 7.
Can you name them?
Oh, all right. I'll give it a go. There's Paul Ricard, Dijon, Magny-Cours, Charade, Bugatti Circuit, Rouen-Lessard, and Reims.
Oui.
I am pleased with that.
Wow. I'll give him a bonus point for that.
Yeah, it's not your quiz. So it's un amour to Freddie as we go on to question 2. At Le Castel.
0.
What?
I don't know my numbers.
Not 100.
Yeah, oui. Un,
Mille.
which is 1, and then amour, which is love. So it's like tennis. It's like one love.
Oh,
yeah.
French Open. I like that.
It's over now.
Thank you.
I just won it.
Now you've had it explained to you. At Le Castellet Airport, how much does it cost for up to 2 hours of helicopter training?
Using the closest wins.
Nigel.
Yeah. What?
€500.
It's not
how many
500 euros.
How many hours?
Up to 2 was what it said on the website.
€650.
No. So before you make your second guess, I don't know if this is the case, but I'm guessing it's not actually for the training itself. It's for kind of use of the airfield when you are doing the training.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we're way down.
€1,500.
No, you're way up.
Oh. 10
so it's
euros.
not like getting an instructor. No, it's cost more than €10.
Damn, I was going to go and buy an airfield for a day.
€30, Adam.
You have one more guess. You've both gone too far down.
390 euros.
What did you say?
390. And I just had a fourth guess because he's a cheat.
Nigel, what did you say?
I said 44.
Okay, it's €100.
Oh, Nigel wins.
Yeah, I'm tempted to give neither of you a point because you're so far off on all of the guesses. It's not an area I've looked into heavily. I didn't have any base to make it. Normally, other people can fly you in the helicopters for you. Which
they come straight to my massive garden. I don't need to go to these stupid airfields.
Which constructor has won the same amount of French Grand Prix as Mercedes?
Freddie.
What?
McLaren?
No.
Oh no, it's only like 2, isn't it? Or 3?
Nigel Williams.
No. I think
who's Nigel Williams?
The snooker player.
On Facebook if you want.
Freddie. Lotus.
Lotus. They won their last race with Andretti, I think, in 78 or 79. Something like that.
Oh, nice.
Freddie leads de une. Who qualified last in the 2007 and 2008 French Grand Prix while driving for different teams?
Freddie.
What?
Was it Giancarlo Fisichella?
No.
Okay.
Was it Fernando Alonso?
No.
That's a bold
Qualified
guess.
last.
I just like, I don't know.
Let's go for it. I'm trying to think who was in, like, who drove for Freddie. Was it Adrian Sittel?
Yes, it was.
Oh,
yes.
that
He drove for Spiker, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
was my next guess.
I was like, well, it's not Christian Albers.
No,
That's
it's
one
not.
for the Christian Albers fans
Anthony
out there.
Davidson
It's not
qualified
him.
ahead of him in 2007, I think. It was fun.
Davidson had a hell of a time in those Super Aguri cars. Sometimes
Yeah.
they were really quick, and some they just wouldn't get results.
Sometimes he came into the pits and there was no one there.
Oh, that's really
Yeah.
sad, isn't it? Because he was running third as well. 2007 Canadian Grand Prix.
How many corners are there on the Paul Ricard circuit? But you must count up to it in French.
No,
Freddie.
Nigel.
Oh, Nigel,
I
go.
heard Nigel first.
Right. Un, deux,
Yeah.
trois,
Yeah.
quatre,
Yeah.
quatre, cinq,
Oui.
six.
Oui.
Is it siete or sept?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is where it starts to get tricky. I did French in primary school, but I can't. God, I forgot what it is in Spanish now, which is bad.
I'll accept Spanish.
Is it says
What?
the answer?
I know the
No,
answer is
you've got to
15. I know the answer is
Oh,
15, but I can't.
I'll give Nigel the point then. 'Cause
Yeah, give Nigel the point because I said it was 16.
worth the comedy value of hearing.
Un, deux, trois, quatre. What is
Trois, quatre.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Wheat.
11, 12, 13,
Oh,
14.
Wheat is the best number in French. Wheat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Barley.
Cans was the answer I was looking for.
Rapeseed.
Which driver had a fiery crash in FP1 of the 2018 French Grand Prix?
Island crash. Nigel.
Freddie. Oh,
Nigel?
Was it Kevin Magnussen?
No.
Freddie. Was it Perez?
No. Nigel was in the same geographic area.
Oh,
What? Grosjean?
no, that's a teammate.
What?
That's
Oh, I
nowhere
thought you
near
meant
Denmark.
Close to?
as in.
No, in terms of Denmark, he's close
Oh.
to.
Yeah.
Probably should have explained that better.
Nigel.
No.
Yep.
Was it Kimi Raikkonen?
No.
Oh, I just can't remember. I have no images in my mind. Freddie, I'm just going to say this because it's the region, but Bottas.
No.
Yeah. You're
You're both
No.
close. It's opening back up to a guesses.
Freddie
Hmm.
Hulkenberg.
No.
Germany's near Denmark. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, it is.
There's
But
no Swedish
That's borders.
drivers. There's no
Oh!
Norwegian drivers.
Freddie, Marcus
you
Ericsson.
fucked that up so badly.
Is it Marcus Ericsson? He was
Yeah,
driving
it's
for
Marcus.
Sauber, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks so much,
Um,
Nigel. Marcus
No
Ericsson,
problem.
congratulations on your first IndyCar win. You
Yeah.
just helped me out here.
He was a bit lucky, but yeah.
It wasn't when he crashed in the
No.
2018 French Grand
I
Prix
have
practice.
no recollection of that accident.
At Le Castellet
Ericsson.
Airport, which cost the most to hire? It was classed as per operation in the tariff guide. Nitrogen, oxygen, toilet service, refueling by refueling truck, or passenger steps.
Freddie,
Nigel. Oh.
I heard Freddie first.
refueling.
No,
I think it's nitrogen.
no.
No,
No.
nitrogen's everywhere, mate. It's like 80% of the air.
I'm trying to find it.
Or it's not.
Uh,
That's the wrong thing. I'm getting mixed up again. I'm going to be hydrogen. Anyway, Freddie, is it the steps?
it is the steps, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the tariff thing, but I've
Because you've got to
lost it
hire it
exactly.
out from the airport, don't you? The airport provide the steps to the plane, and like you've got to make someone get up and drive them there. You can't just you can't get out of the plane otherwise. So it's a very key thing. So they charge a lot for it. It's like it's like this is necessary. So let's put another 0 on the end. Like weddings. If you ever say something for a wedding, they'll just put a 0 on the end.
Found the price list, so in a couple of seconds I'll be able to.
I can't wait.
I couldn't it was all broken down into like weight of aircraft, so I wanted to do a something along those lines, but I couldn't find it. So the passenger steps are 168 euros. Refueling is 15 euros.
Not for the fuel, then, I guess.
No, just for the use of the thing. Nitrogen is nitrogen and oxygen are both 102 euros, and the toilet service is 132. Maybe again, Freddie, what you said, that it's pretty crucial. So that's now 5-2 to Freddie, and Nigel needs to get the last.
Where's this interest in aviation come from? Are you trying to hire a jet for us to go to Paul Ricard? Is that the prize for the winner of this quiz?
I thought I'd do the organisation and logistics for hiring it, and then you could pay for it, and then
I've got £1 here.
Yeah, I thought that'd be a good division of labour for it. So Nigel needs to get this to stay in the game. Which driver made their first Q3 appearance of their career at the 2018 French Grand Prix?
Nigel.
I know.
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
Yes, it certainly was.
Brilliant qualifying session, that, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, that was very good.
And it was kind of damp, which made it weird.
No, it was good from Leclerc. Right. Question 9, 5-3 to Freddie. Is Paul Ricard closer to Rome or Paris?
Nigel.
Yeah.
Got to be Paris.
It is.
Yeah.
There is 40 kilometres in it.
Ooh.
Oh, that's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, it's quite close. So Nigel's bringing it back. And slightly worrying because I don't have a
tiebreaker.
Yeah, well, I did have a tiebreaker, but it was what did Paul Ricard do? And then Freddie said it before we started recording, so that got out the window.
It interested me.
Qualified 11th for the 2019 French Grand Prix.
Oh, Freddie. Hulkenberg?
No.
Damn it.
11th.
Yeah. Onze M, that'd be it.
11e.
Or Onze?
Onze.
Because it has a little E on the top. But I think
Nigel.
EM is only... Yes.
Alexander Albon.
It was Alexander
Was
Albon.
it?
Yes.
It was Albon?
Yeah.
How the hell did you get that?
Why else would I ask it?
That's I was nowhere near that. Fair play. I wasn't going to get that. I completely forgot he drove in Formula One.
I haven't.
No, Nigel never will.
I forgot he drove for Toro Rosso in that part of the year. It feels weird, like thinking he was a Toro Rosso driver for me, at least. It seems because he's been so often been a not good Red Bull driver. Oh, here we go then. Nigel's brought it back. Interesting.
He has indeed.
It's like the Ukraine-Neville match, so that means he's going to win with a last-minute winner or 85th minute winner.
Of course I am. Got to back myself, don't I?
I'm just having a look.
He's still in for a question.
I've got a question in mind, but I need to check it works.
Go for it. Check it
Okay,
works.
so the question is, go for it. How many of the current F1 and F2 grids hold a lap record at Paul Ricard?
How many drivers?
Yes.
Nigel.
Yep.
I'm going to go with 5.
Yeah, I was going to go with 5.
You're going with 5?
He's going with 5, Nigel is.
5.
Okay. Freddie, what are you going with?
Because it's including F2 drivers, it's thrown me off. So I am going to go with 4.
Freddie wins the quiz.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
is it
3.
Oh,
3.
Yeah, it's close to win.
Science. Is Science one?
No, Vettel, Gasly, and Marcus Armstrong.
Oh,
Oh,
And
interesting.
Petikov has one as well, but
He's not on the grid anymore. Yeah.
no, exactly.
What series did they do that in?
Vettel's Formula
Vettel
1
in F1, yeah. Gasly in Formula Renault 3.5 and Armstrong in F3.
Oh,
So
right.
Hubert
He's
got
got the
GP3, Yiffy got Euro Formula Open, Petikov's got Freck.
Is
He's
there a
got
Formula 2
F2?
track records? Yeah.
Yeah, De Vries has got that.
Oh,
cool.
right. Mm.
Makes sense.
And he's got 2. He's got an LMP2 record on the layout without the Mistral chicane as well. So,
the Mistral chicane.
oui, Mistral.
Was there a Mistral?
Okay, well, Freddie takes the quiz by a tie-break
A hair,
win.
to be fair. Fair play,
I don't
Nigel.
think the hair
Good
is.
game.
Yeah, good match between both. And we will be back after the race to review it, probably on the Monday because Freddie's having dinner.
Father's Day, innit?
Oh,
There wasn't supposed to be a Grand Prix this weekend, and then the Canadian one and Turkish one had their cancellations, so
Yes.
they moved it to this date. And we're like, damn it, we've already booked to go for lunch. But oh well.
Lunch?
Yeah,
I thought you said dinner.
yeah, it's like one of
Lunch
those
to
awkward
that thing,
times.
innit?
In the south, they're not the same thing. Actually, to be fair, that's a northern thing that they're the same thing.
Yeah.
They're different as well, although they are slightly interchangeable. But anyway,
Meal, going for a meal.
That is, yes. And I'm going for a meal now, actually. I need to have lunch. But that is all from us. We hope you enjoy the Grand Prix as much as you can, as much as Freddie is enjoying his Doritos or will in about 5 seconds' time. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great week and weekend, and goodbye.
Bye, everybody.